Welcome to Adoption Matters. Real life, real people, real talk. I'm Kim Noeth, your co-host, along with Sally Ankerfelt and Sharon Butler-Obazee. Today, we are doing a deep dive into a blog post written by our gift colleague, Gail Swift. It's entitled, Parents Need to Handle Their Own Tough Stuff, and we'll be sharing a link to the blog in the comments. Because we operate from a trispective lens, we aren't just looking at this piece from one angle. We're going to break it down to what it means to handle your stuff from all three sides of the triad. Sharon is anchoring our adoptee perspective. Sally will look at it through the adoptive parent lens, and I'll be bringing the birth mom point of view. Let's dive into Gail's first main point, which was caretaking. Gail points out that if adoptive parents don't handle their own infertility trauma or insecurity, the child will step in to caretake the parent's emotions, meaning the child hides their own grief to keep the parents happy. From the adoptive parent side, handling your own stuff means doing the hard inner work so you can be a steady, unshakable anchor for your child. Sally, can you expound a little bit more on that from the adoptive parent side?
Yeah, I really resonated with that. And there was a quote that Gail had, or I should say, I want to read a little sentence that Gail had written that speaks to this for me personally. And let's see if I can find it here. It says, parents must attune to their own needs with the same intentionality that they strive to attune to their children's needs. And I think that adoptive parents often skip this step where we're so intent on looking at receiving a child and then parenting that child. And if infertility has occurred, which is often the case, we might even skip the step of looking at what do we really need after that hard experience of not being able to birth a child and have a birth child. And so for me, when I think about that attuning to our needs, something has to take place within us as adoptive parents where we say, my needs are important. I need to start looking at what I need and how much of what I need is what I might eventually place on my children, which would not be healthy. Like maybe I need to have if the idea of what a child would be like for me, a narrative I've created for myself on what it would be like to parent a child, or maybe I want the child to just have this these wonderful attributes. Well, then those aren't really my, that's not my need. That becomes the child's need to fulfill that need for
Wow,
me,
that's
which I
amazing.
think is
It's
where a lot of
so
caretaking
interesting to
comes
like
too. If
coaching,
we
but then
don't
fine
have
tuning the whole
our
thing
needs
to figure out
fulfilled in
what's
other
the right
ways,
fit,
or if we don't even take the time to look
what
at
is
our
the gold
needs
standard anyway.
and
So,
and we
that's
recognize that it's
great.
important for me
Mhm.
to heal
Yeah.
here,
And the
I need to
International
heal
Coaching
first.
Federation
Yeah,
has core
it can really be
competencies
put on
for
the
a
child.
coach.
And it
That's where our code of
happens
ethics comes
unconsciously.
from.
That's the thing. It's
They
not
have
like people
standards in terms of
really know about
accrediting
this or think
programs,
about
in terms of
this
membership,
much,
in
I
terms
don't
of
think,
earning a
unless you've
credential.
really dug
And
into it
those are
and you
things
learn,
that
or you have a
absolutely
professional who's helping you
strengthen
say,
the
how are
profession of
you dealing
coaching.
with this news about this infertility,
Totally,
or how are you
because
dealing
that's
with
yeah,
the
there is, and they
unknowns
are
of
rigorous
adoption.
too.
So I
Hmm.
would
That's where
say,
I went with it.
and it does strengthen it and gives it a high degree of
Sharon, how about you?
integrity,
What's your
I'd
point of
say,
view as an adoptee
Yeah.
here?
for sure.
Well,
So,
I was
so when
thinking
you look
about
at,
how
we're this
Gail
partnership
references
that
the
we
book
are
that was
um,
written by,
joining in or
uh,
coming together
let's see
with,
here,
we're super excited for it,
Bessel
and
van de
we
We are
really can
too.
Klock.
see
He's a medical
so many
doctor,
benefits,
and
and
he
we'd love to
wrote The
see
Body
ask
Keeps
you how
Score.
you see
And
that your
basically,
center for
it
coaching
is
certification is uniquely
speaking to the fact
positioned
that
for this
regardless of
particular
our
partnership with
own
us.
experience, our
Yeah.
body
Well,
knows
so what you
exactly what we
offer
experience. Like we might
is
psychologically
very
forget,
specialized in the space of adoption.
something that happened in the process
And
of,
what we offer is really about the
as
coaching
for a
side
birth
of it.
parent, the
When
transition
people are
and having
going
the
to do
child go
coaching,
to
it's
another
like any
set and
profession you go
another
into. there's
experience
specific
completely.
skills to learn.
And
There's
or like Sally
specific
was saying,
processes, et
infertility
cetera.
has a big impact
So your
on
expertise in the adoption
adoptive
area is
parents. And,
fabulous. If we have
as you go
somebody
through those
who's in
cycles
coach training,
of
that's an area of
attempting to
interest for them,
recover
that kind of thing, then
psychologically,
we
mentally,
can refer them
and
to you and
physically
say, okay.
from those
And we've actually
horrible,
designed our programs now where people
traumatic
can choose
experiences that you've had.
electives at a certain point and
There's
say,
a
okay,
process by which you
I've got all
can take
my
care of yourselves
basics,
to
my
recover.
core
But for the
pieces for the
child,
coaching, and now I want to
who's also
specialize in
been
a
separated
particular
from the parent,
area. So
has
your
no
elective,
idea of how to
or
express
your
their feelings,
program
their
is one of the
emotions, how
electives
they
they
feel
can take
mentally.
to
They're
specialize.
confused. It's very
And then for the
complex.
people
They
that
don't
you're
understand
working
anything
with,
about the
the
whole
advantage that
situation,
we
and that
offer is they
imprint
don't have
on
to start over
on their
on their
bodies
training hours.
with that separation, along
Typically
with
speaking, if you
epigenetics.
go to a
The
school,
things that
they're
come from
not
their
going
own
to
identity,
accept the
their own
credit
family
hours
history, they come into
for other
play in
schools.
the whole process
We
of
have
who
the
they
option of
are
doing
and
that.
how they
We've
can
decided,
become,
yes, it
has
makes
a big
sense
impact
because
too.
to
So,
me, this is
I
about
think for
the
the
quality of
adopted
what they're
person,
getting as well
the
as the
layers
content
of
making sense for
complexity
them.
can be greater,
Mhm.
only
Our
because they
expertise
don't
is
know
the
how to
coaching side of it.
process
Yours is the adoption
depend upon the
side. So
age
it's
of the
just
child. Of course, when they're
a
adopted,
good
they might
partnership
have
all
more
around for people
ability
that
to
want to move
communicate
into
some of
that
these things
space.
to an adult.
Yeah.
But
It
sometimes they
gives,
don't, and
yeah,
it
it
takes
gives
longer
your
to do.
graduates a way to say, okay, I've already got this many hours of
true.
training.
And I think
Can I
that
use that as part
consider this
of
from the birth mom
my
point of
coaching
view,
program?
I think there's a
And the
hidden
answer is
layer here
yes. We've
to
got
that
ours
trifecta
designed in a
view.
way that
We
we
often
can
talk
fill
about
in the other
children
hours and
caretaking,
the other
but I've seen
requirements
frequently where
and support
birth
people
parents
earning
are
membership or a
conditioned to
credential with
caretake the emotional
ICF.
security of the adoptive parents.
Yeah, I
I
think
see that a
back
lot,
to
especially
my
they feel
coaching
they have to mask their
training,
grief.
and
Many times they'll
when
say they have
we
to
were
walk on
getting
eggshells
more
and
towards
perform
the
endless
end,
gratitude
and then
just
we
to
had
keep the
conversations
adoptive
about
family
how you
comfortable
want
enough
how do you want to
keep the
use your
adoption
coaching,
relationship open.
and that's
And I
kind of
think there's a
where
massive
it came
difference
in, where a
between
lot of us there
caregiving,
happened to be
which is
adoptive
healthy and
parents
a supportive
in the
partnership,
coaching
and
academy, and
caretaking,
we said we really
which
see the
caretaking is
benefits
often
of this
driven by
approach
anxiety.
with, at
And
the
I think if we
time,
want
way
to
back
free
then, we were
children and
thinking
birth moms
mainly
from the
adoptive
burden of
families, but of
caretaking,
course,
the
we've
adults are going to
transitioned
have to
now
lead here.
somewhat to
Especially adoptive
really
parents moving
honing in
forward
on the
towards
full
more
group, the
emotional
triad,
ownership,
the adoptive
which is
parents,
the healthy
adoptees,
opposite of
and
caretaking,
birth parents.
so that
But
the
at
birth
that
mom can
time,
stop
we could
managing
see
some
the
of those
benefits of
insecurities
what we were
and
learning
simply
for
focus on being a supportive
the
part of
adoptive
that child's
adoption
life.
community.
Oh, yeah.
And wouldn't it have been great back then if our
that is so
academy
good.
would have said, hey,
I hadn't thought about
let's
that.
wrap that in,
But that
so
adoption
that
attunement
you can
element,
be
taking care of your own
considering
stuff,
how this might
really
apply
bleeds in here
to
too. And
your
I
expertise
think
that you
that
want to,
for
what
sure,
you want to do.
adoptive
And
parents
that would
often
have
feel
given us
threatened,
even
by
more
the presence
skills
of a birth
to
mom
be able to
Mhm.
say, okay, now let's really sit down and look.
I
How
don't
does
know if
coaching
feeling
actually
is so
apply
much
to
anymore
the
that
adoption
the child
constellation?
will
And so I think what you're doing by
removed
wrapping
from
it
the
into your
home
level
and
1 and level
returned.
2 trainings
But
is
there's more
awesome,
of the
because it really, in the
does
end,
my
will
child
strengthen
love
people
more?
to
Yes.
be
And
really
will
even more
that
adoption
love
attuned
reduce?
than
Yeah.
Will
before.
I be loved less
Yeah.
if this
Yeah.
person
So
comes
for the
into
people that are
my child's
interested in
life
that, it's
more?
just this perfect
And
combination
The
of
caretaking
that
also
deep
comes in, I think,
expertise working with
sometimes
different
the
people on the
adoptive
triad,
parents
and
in
then
some
also
ways
the
feel
deep
guilty
expertise on the coaching side of it.
guilty about, and on the flip side,
not having
for
this
us,
child
when we
with
have somebody
their
coming
first
and they're
families.
coming in
And
and
I can't.
they're
That's
seeing
a layered
the
comment,
benefits of
but
more
there
of the
sometimes is
coaching
that
it
that
really
we know
we have actually had
instinctively
people already
that
say,
this
hey,
is
how can
not
I get
the
more?
best
And
Mhm.
so
choice.
for
The
us,
best
it's a
possibility
great way to
is to
support
have kids
our students
with
by
their
saying,
first
Yeah.
families.
we
That's
have
best
this
for the
relationship. This is a
child.
great program.
And so
you know, we
there
Mhm.
might be a little bit
and
of a layer
here
there,
it is. So
and
they don't
looking
have to
for
be
the
looking
first
and
parent,
wondering,
the birth
but
parent,
it's already
to
there. So I think
Or
that sort of
starting
say,
over
don't feel
somewhere.
bad,
Yeah.
before starting,
Yeah.
Yeah,
But then
we
that
have
does not leave room
a very
for
similar
the
partnership
feelings of
with
anybody
ADHD
else.
parent
It's
coaching.
totally focused on the
And we've
adopted
been
parent
doing
and trying
that
to make them
partnership
feel
for
more
years
comfortable,
now.
make them feel
And same
better.
concept. They,
Yeah,
okay,
we like
they
stepping in
learn
the
about
light
the
together, right? We
ADHD
don't
parent
outsmart each
coaching
other.
side of
We
it, and
pull the
then are
light
looking
together.
for what's
And that
required,
adopted
the
child is stuck in the
coaching
middle
to become a member
of,
and
you
earn a
know, the
credential. And so
parents, both parents
it really
wanting to,
works.
you know, say how important
Yeah.
everybody
So
is
aside from what
and
we already
how
talked
curious
about,
they
what
are
would you
about
say are
the
the
parent who's
greatest
not there all the
benefits of
time. So
coach
really, as
training in
adults, it's up
conjunction
to
with our
the
adoption
two-parent,
attuned certification program.
guidelines or
Yeah.
guiders
Yeah, so
to really support
obviously,
each other
the idea
so that the
that you
child can feel
can earn a
supported in the
credential.
middle and not have to choose,
Interestingly enough, some people
who's
say,
the
okay,
best
well,
one, and
do I really have to get
or
training to be a
manipulate to
coach?
get the things that they
And
want.
it's kind of
And,
funny.
as
Can
they
you
grow,
imagine if a
it's
therapist
very
said, oh, do I
complex.
really have to get
And,
training to be a therapist?
when
Or
I
an
think when
accountant said, do I
adults
really
partner
have to get
together,
training to be a
even in a marriage,
CPA?
when adults partner
It's like,
together
yes, of course.
to say, this is what we're going to
Of course
do
you
for
do.
our
You
child, and
want
this is the
that.
way we're going to do it.
And
It
when you
supports the
have
child
that
and gives them
training,
guidelines and gives them
learning
comfort,
those
and they feel
specific
safe and they
skills,
know,
ICF has
that they're
put
loved.
so much work into what the competencies
stuff.
are for doing coaching, and that gets researched and reviewed consistently. Same is true
Wow.
for the Code of Ethics. It gets
This has been an
reviewed and
interesting talk.
updated on a
I think,
consistent basis because the world continues changing and there are new things to address.
Well, this
I
leads
actually
directly
had
to
the
Gail's
privilege
next
of
key
being
statement
on the leadership
in this
team for the
blog, which
last round
was
of updates to the
buried
Code of
and
Ethics.
unacknowledged
So
feelings will
knowing
eventually
that
erupt,
you have
and usually
access
with
to
damaging
the
ferocity
competencies and
and
the
the
ethics
worst
that really make
times.
a difference in the
And I
process.
know that's so true
In
that
terms
Gail
of the
is spot
coaching
on with that
itself, the
buried feelings
statistics to
eventually
me are
erupting.
absolutely astounding.
And I want to challenge
The
something a
average
little
return
here
on
as a
investment for
birth mom
working
as
with a
to
coach
why
is
those feelings were buried
600%.
in the first place.
I don't know of
And this
anywhere you
especially
can
having
go
place
and,
back in the day when
invest money
adoptions
and get
were
a
more closed.
600% return.
For
That's
birth mothers,
just
burying our
phenomenal.
stuff isn't a
And
lack
the
of
reason
willingness to
it's
do
so
the inner work.
effective
It's more of a
is
survival
actually
strategy.
the same reason
You know, in
that,
an
or the
open
same way
adoption,
that most people
especially if a birth
misunderstand
mom
coaching.
shows too much grief,
When we think
too
of a
much
coach, most of
trauma
us
or
think
raw
of like an
emotion,
athletic
she's going to
coach,
risk being
or
labeled as
somebody who's going to
difficult or
give us
unstable.
advice or teach us
And the
how to do
ultimate penalty
something,
for that risk
etc.
is she might
And
lose
it's
access to her
actually the
child.
opposite of that.
So when we talk about handling our
Coaching,
tough
the
stuff,
form of coaching
it
we're
can't
talking
just be
about, the
like homework
International
for the birth
Coaching
mom to
Federation,
do in
my way
isolation.
of describing
That
it
true
is to say
healing
it's
requires
advanced
relational
development for
safety.
advanced results.
And we touched on that a lot before, creating those
We all have
containers for safety.
education. We
The
get on the
entire
job
family
training.
ecosystem
We may be
has to build
fortunate
the
enough to
emotional
have a
stamina
consultant we
to
work with,
witness
or
the
a
birth
mentor
mother's
we work
grief
with,
without
etc.
treating it as if it's a threat
And
or an
then
eruption,
comes coaching.
but rather an essential
And the
part of the
key
family's
difference in
collective
coaching
truth.
is, instead of
And I think
somebody
that's so
telling
true
you
on behalf
what
of
you
the
should
adoptee as
do,
well.
it
So let's
is a
talk a little bit about that.
process through
Sally, what's your
which
point
you
of view
tap
about
your
that?
own
Is that hard to
expertise. You really
hear
are
as
your own best
adoptive
expert,
parent,
and
or
you
what were some
have your
thoughts that
answers
came for
within.
you in that
It's
statement?
finding those and discovering
Well,
those
one
and
of the
thinking them
one of the
through,
things Gail said too
and
was
processing and
that adoptive
considering
parents
different
need
options or
to be
perspectives or
calm as
possibilities.
well in the midst
So
of
the
it. Well, what does
coaching
it take to be
process
calm?
itself
And what
puts
does it
you in the
take
driver's
to
seat.
to
And
be
because
really
you are the
present
one
and
discovering your
not sort of
answers,
get back
you
into our
own
own
them.
stuff? Well,
And
it
they make
takes
sense and they work
expecting
for you.
that there will be hard
And the
stuff.
power of
And it
coaching
takes
is
being open
absolutely a
to
game changer. It's something I
the
wish
messiness
we all
that
learned.
occurs in adoption.
I wish
To
a
the
lot of the
point
coach
where
training was taught in
we are
school,
able to enter into that with
frankly.
the trust that
And
having the
in
truth
terms of working with
stated
a coach,
will be the
it's an
healthiest,
incredible
especially
opportunity.
for the
Those are
child or the
incredible
adopted person.
benefits.
And I think that if that could
I'm
be
curious
taught
what you're
or
looking
known,
forward to
that
with
hey,
our
this is not
partnership.
going to be a
I'm
walk in the
imagining
park.
it's a little different,
This is
being
not
that
going to
we each
be
represent a different
something that
part
you
of the
can
triad,
just
and just
hope
kind of
that it
curious
just goes away.
about that a little bit.
But it's something that
Yeah,
is
well, so
a part of the
from the
experience,
perspective
which is
of the Center for
hard
Coaching Certification,
conversations,
what we're looking at
sometimes
is, we have
eruption,
this great
just because of the
expertise
dynamics,
on
like you
the
were saying,
coaching
Kim.
and
Sometimes
developing
if people
people
are not
as
safe, they're not going to
coaches
share. And if they
based
can't
on the
share, it will come
competencies, the
out
ethics, etc.
eventually.
And
And being willing
people
to
get a
be
certain point where
open
they
to
want
that
to really
and have
specialize.
some not only
The
discomfort, but
analogy I
even
often
some
use
pain,
is when you go to
because
college,
this might
your
have to
first couple of years
actually
of college,
go there.
you
And
get
if
all
we
your
know that as
basics.
adoptive parents and
And
we say,
then by your
okay,
junior year,
I
you're
think I'm ready for
declaring your
this.
major.
Like one of the
And then you're taking
examples that I
classes that
was
are
taught
specialized
way
based on
back
what
in
your
training,
major
it was
is.
Ken Watkins was his
It's
name.
the same
He said,
concept.
you might
So we're
expect
going to get all
your
the
child to
core
someday say,
classes for the
you're not my
coaching.
mom or you're not my
And
dad.
when somebody
And they
gets
might
to the
also
point
say,
of
I
declaring
hate
their
you.
major or
And
choosing
at
their
that
niche in
moment,
coaching,
be ready,
this is an
because
option
it's
they
not
have.
about
And
you.
it's fabulous.
And if
And there
you
are
can
others.
realize that it's
For us,
coming
there
and that
are
it's not about
others.
you, you will be able to
Other
respond in a way
electives, so people
that brings
choose based on
connection
the type
and
of coaching they
validation.
want to
And
do.
you can say something like,
So I'm
it
curious,
must be really painful
what do you
to
think
feel
are some
that
of the
way
greatest strengths in
about
coaching?
your mom or dad, or just to feel that
In
way.
coaching, when
And
you
what
have a
you've done is
well-trained
you've entered
coach,
into the pain, and
their
you
greatest
haven't made it about
strengths,
yourself.
listening
And
at a
so
level that
even
most
that
people
little
just
nugget
are
that I
not
got
used
many
to.
years ago, I've used that
It's the
so
irony
much, I
here.
can't tell you.
If you ask somebody,
That was probably
hey,
one
are
of the
you a
best
good
things
listener? Most
that
people say, yeah, I'm a
ever
good listener.
learned.
And then
So
if you
be
ask them,
ready,
do you think
parents,
other people
and
listen
be
well?
willing to step in
Most people say, no,
to the mess.
not so
Don't be
much.
hard on yourselves or others
When you
so
have a
much, but be
coach,
there and be
they
open.
listen at a level that
Yeah.
it really
Good
goes
stuff.
above and beyond anything you're
Really good
used to.
stuff, Sally. As you were talking,
The other
I
really
was just
great thing
thinking
they
of
do
how
is ask
consciously aware
questions.
we have
And
to
the
be
way
of
they
our own
ask their
stuff,
questions
so that we don't
is
put it
really
onto
significant.
the complexity
They
of the
are
adoption, no
truly
matter what
open
position you're in.
questions. They're
I've
forward
watched
focused. They're
parents who
supporting
have
you so
adopted
that you're
babies, and
really exploring
those babies
what
grow
are your
up. That's one
opportunities,
of
what
the
are your
things. I mean,
possibilities,
I,
what are
I
your
remember watching my
resources, what
children
are
grow,
your
and I always
potential
thinking,
barriers,
when are they going to
and
stop
then
growing? I wish I had
supporting
my
you
baby back.
developing your own
But
strategy
it
for
gives
how you're
you,
moving
along with their
forward.
development, you have to continue to
It's
evolve.
it's
You can't
incredible. And the
stay the same
process we
parent that you
teach, in
were,
addition to
no
all
matter
of
how
that,
consciously aware you were
also
of
supports
yourself at the
confidence.
time when they were.
And to
It has to
me,
evolve, and you
most of
have to
us,
be
that's our
willing to
biggest
open. You have
barrier.
to be
If
open
we
to
get up in the
learning,
morning, we look
and
in
you
the
have to
mirror,
be
that's our biggest
curious
barrier.
about them
Right
as
there.
an individual.
And so
Because
supporting
unfortunately,
people with
sometimes
confidence,
as adults, we get
developing
stuck
their
in our
confidence,
behavior
and then
patterns,
also
and we
being
continue to treat the
positive
child
and
or in the
forward focused,
situation the same
solution
way we did
focused
when they were
is
younger.
really
So
significant.
I've
It's
watched
really easy to get caught
adoptees,
up in all the negative,
unfortunately, go through
and
this
it's important to have
whole
a
feeling of
process and
not
a
being
way
heard,
to really
not
choose
knowing
to
their
focus on the
identity was
positive and the
considered,
opportunities.
in the situation. And maybe the parents isn't
sure.
as open to the birth as they
Don't
thought
you
they
agree,
would be, and
ladies,
maybe
from
close the
every
door a little
perspective
bit,
of the triad, that
and not
I
allow
think
that
that's
other person to come
exactly
into the
what we have
situation.
said too.
Unfortunately, I've seen a lot
Because
of
often each
adoptees
triad member, I think
disrupt
we
the relationship
encounter,
they have with their adopted parents, and it's really sad.
not deep listening
My heart goes
sometimes.
out to the parent. My heart goes out to the
Sometimes we
adoptee.
don't feel,
Because the
I would don't
relationship
agree,
is so
ladies,
critical.
from
We
every
can't stand
perspective of the
alone.
triad,
We
that
need the support of the
I think
triad. We need
that's
our birth
refreshing for
parents
people
and
when
our
they
adopted parents to
sit with a
understand who we
coach.
are as an individual.
And all of a
So
sudden
from
it's
an
because
adoptee's
often
perspective,
each tribe
wanting to
member,
be
I think
known,
we
loved,
encounter,
and understood, and so
know,
that we can know, love, and
not
understand
deep
you.
Conveying
listening
it and
sometimes.
supporting
It's
you living
so
it.
that reciprocal part
Is there
of it
anything
is
you
really
want else
important.
you want our listeners
I
to know
was,
about this
I would
It's
always use the
critical
word
coaching
that,
and
capable.
adults
elective
especially be
agreement that
aware
And
was
that's
put
of the
together?
refreshing
impact
for
they're
people
having on the
when they,
relationship
I
when they
think,
don't handle their own stuff.
I mean, in
and
terms of
all
the
of a sudden
agreement,
it's
it
Mm-hmm.
So
feels
true.
like it
person
just
is
And you might
makes
be
complete.
sense.
thinking,
And
how do we
so
do
part
this
of the
heavy
challenge I
lifting?
have is
How do we
is
move
this
away from
obvious?
caretaking, move
It almost
towards
feels that way, and I'm
unconditional
sure it
emotional
isn't.
ownership? And I
It's
think Gail gives us the blueprint right at
the
the end of her
specialization,
piece,
the
and it
content you're
applies to
teaching
every
them is
single
so
person in this
powerful.
triad.
So imagine
As
then
Is there
adoption
anything
attuned
you
professionals,
want
we
our
help
listeners to
families
know
your
about
cope
program
this
and
offers,
ensure that they
coaching
are
your
truly
and
coach
doing the
training,
heavy
yes, learning
lifting
your
elective
until it's
agreement
your
that
mastered.
was
ethics, your
put together?
This
processes,
isn't a
etc.
luxury, it's a
Now it's
prerequisite.
become,
And when the
I mean, in
adults take
terms of the
responsibility
skills
for
are
their
now
own emotional
expected
baggage,
of anyone
it's going to free our
in a
children
part
from
of the
carrying
challenge
it
I
with
have
us. It prepares
is
us
this
to be
obvious?
fully available to them,
It almost feels
standing
that
on the
way, and I'm
better
sure it
mom,
isn't.
while they navigate their own personal pieces of the adoption journey.
The specialization,
And when we
the
do that
content
work,
that
the
you're teaching
entire
them is so
family ecosystem
powerful.
shifts.
So
We
imagine
become
that
healthier,
you
happier,
gain
and
what
completely
your
authentic
program
in our
offers,
relationship
and
with each other.
elevating your coach training.
Thank you so much for sitting with us today for this trispected look at adoption
And now
matters,
let's go beyond
which is
with
always real people,
coaching
real life, and real
skills are
talk.
now
And you can
expected
find us
of
at
anyone in a leadership capacity, learning how to set
www.giftfamilyservices.com.
goals. Beyond
Be sure and
that,
check out the show
the
notes
way
for
you set
links
a
to
goal,
Gail's
better
full blog
mom, a
post.
better
And
grandma,
be
a
sure to
better
tune in next
friend
time
and
as we
family
continue to
member.
unpack
I'll
the
give you
real,
an
the
example.
raw,
Have you ever
and the
known
honest
someone that
sides of the
said,
adoption
"Oh, I need to
experience.
lose weight"? When you think
Have a
about
great
what
week,
you
everyone.
gain from the people like that,
Thank
right?
you. I'll raise my hand.
Thank you.
Elevating your
All
listening
right.
skills, elevating the way and people say that, and guess
how
what?
you say what you
5 years
say,
later, they're
how
saying the
you
same thing.
interact with people,
Because
even the way you
that wasn't wasn't
think
an effective way
makes
to
a
define your
difference.
goal.
Learning
in
how
the
to
coaching
set goals.
process,
It's really
you're going to
funny.
change that with
The way
them
you set a
through the
goal makes a
questions you
difference
ask
in
and
whether or
by
not
how
you
you have
achieve
the
a goal.
conversation.
So
I'll
I'll give you an
working with that
example. Have you
individual
ever
and saying,
known someone
"Okay,
that said,
so
"Oh, I
when
need to
you
lose weight"?
how much do you want to
You
weigh?"
know,
You know people
what
like that,
size
right?
do you
Well,
wanna
I'll
be?
raise my hand.
And you'll start saying, okay,
All
what's
right.
meaningful about that?
And,
What does that
and
do
people
for
say
you?
that, and guess
So
what?
tapping
5
your
years later, they're
internal
saying the same
motivators
thing.
for it.
Mhm.
And then
Because
focusing
that wasn't
on
an
what are the
effective way to
barriers?
define their goal.
How do you move past those? And in a
What are
coaching
the
process,
strategies?
you're going to
What are
change
your
that
action
with them
steps?
through the questions you ask
What
and by how you have
specifically
the
are you doing?
conversation.
When are you doing it? How are you
So
doing
you'll
it
start
to
working
move
with
you
that individual
toward
and saying,
what you
okay,
want?
so when you lose weight, how much do you
It's a
want to
different
weigh?
focus
Or what size do
from
you want to
saying,
be?
I
And you'll
need
start
to.
saying, okay, what's meaningful about that?
Hmm.
What does that do for you? So
Such good
tapping
stuff
your
right there,
internal
Kathy.
motivators for
How
it.
can people reach you
And
if they're
then
interested in learning
focusing
more about the
on
Center for
what are the
Coaching
barriers?
Certification?
How do you
Yeah,
move past
absolutely. So
those?
of course we're online. What are the
Definitely
strategies?
come visit us.
What are your action steps?
Hopefully the URL is easy
What
for everyone.
specifically
It's
are
the
you
word
doing?
coach.
When are you doing it? How are
And then
you
the
doing
word
it to
cert,
move you
short for
toward
certification.
what you want?
So coachcert.com.
It's a different
And
focus
on the website,
from
there's
saying,
access
I
to
need to.
overviews of the programs and learning outcomes, as well
Such good
as
stuff right there, Kathy.
all kinds of other great
How can people
information,
reach
blogs,
you if they're
podcasts,
interested in learning more
etc.
about the Center for Coaching Certification?
That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. So of course we're
Kathy,
online.
thank you so much for joining
Definitely
us
come
today
visit
and
us.
for this partnership.
Hopefully the
We're
URL
excited
is
about the
easy
doors
for
this
everyone.
opens
It's
for
the word
coaches who want to
coach.
serve adoptive
And then the
families,
word
birth
cert,
parents, and
short for
adoptees who
certification.
both
So
with both
coachcert.com.
experience and credential
And
training.
on the
To our
website, there's
listeners, if you're
access
interested in
to
learning more
overviews
about
of
the
the
Adoption
programs
Attuned
and
Coaching
learning
Certification
outcomes,
Program,
as
or
well
about pursuing
as
ICF
all kinds of
certification
other great
through the Center
information,
for
blogs,
Coaching
podcasts,
Certification, you
etc.
can find those links available in our show
That's
notes.
great.
Thanks for
That is
joining us
great.
today. Kathy, thank you
Yeah,
so
thanks,
much for joining
Kathy.
us today and for this partnership. We're excited about the doors this opens for coaches who want to serve adoptive families, birth parents, and adoptees who with both experience and credential training. To our listeners, if you're interested in learning more about the Adoption Attuned Coaching Certification Program or about pursuing ICF certification through the Center for Coaching Certification, you can find those links available in our show notes. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, Kathy. I can sense your commitment to this, and that to me makes me even more gratified that we're entering into this relationship. Yeah, because
We're
you're
excited.
definitely living it. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's good.
All right. Well, have a good day.
Thank you so much.